At the start of the story, a couple named Janice and her husband, Cameron, are shown trying to hide a dead body. Janice is very scared, but Cameron tries to calm her down, saying it was just an accident. The scene changes, and we meet a young girl named Colleen. She is standing by the road, hoping to catch a ride. Just then, Janice and Cameron's car pulls up, and Colleen asks them for a lift. They agree, and she gets into the car. Cameron starts asking Colleen why she is there and what she is doing. Colleen tells him that she came to surprise her friend for his birthday. But when she talks, she makes a small mistake while saying the word surprise. Cameron realizes that Colleen's friend does not know she is coming, and this makes him excited because it gives him a chance to kidnap her. They stop at a gas station, and Colleen notices a strange box in the car. After she comes back from freshening up, she feels like something is off, but she ignores it. Cameron and Janice tell her that there's a nice view up ahead and that she should look at it with them. Colleen, without suspecting anything, agrees. They drive to a deserted area, and suddenly Cameron blindfolds Colleen. He quickly puts her head inside the box she had seen before, so she won't know where they are taking her. Cameron brings Colleen to his basement and locks her up. He starts hurting her badly. Colleen cries and begs him to stop, asking why he is doing this. But Cameron doesn't answer. He just keeps hurting her and finally locks her in a box. We learn that Cameron is not mentally well. He is a dangerous man. Janice, his wife, comes to Colleen later and asks her if she needs anything. Colleen pleads with Janice to let her go, but Janice is too scared of her husband to help. She knows that if she helps Colleen escape, Cameron will hurt. Cameron kept hurting Colleen badly. Every time Janice, his wife, heard Colleen's cries, she felt very upset. To avoid hearing the screams, Janice would turn up the volume on her headphones. One night, Janice asked Cameron to promise that he would not harm Colleen anymore. Cameron agreed, but Janice was worried because she didn't want anyone to be hurt, even though she was scared of her husband. Cameron locked Colleen in a box, but added an oxygen pipe so she could breathe. Still, Colleen cried a lot inside the box. She thought about her father, who had warned her not to go anywhere alone. Now, she regretted not listening to him. Colleen's parents were very worried and went to the police to report her missing. Even after 6 long months, Colleen was still trapped in Cameron's basement. One day, Janice found out she was pregnant and told Cameron that keeping Colleen would be bad for their baby. She asked him to let Colleen go, but Cameron refused. He said if they freed her, she would go to the police and they would get caught. Cameron came up with a plan to scare Colleen. He told her he worked for a fake company that bought and sold slaves. He said she was now his slave, and that if she ever tried to escape, the company would find her and hurt her and her family. Cameron made up these stories to make Colleen too afraid to run away. Then, Cameron gave Colleen some papers to sign. He told her that if she signed them, she would be safe, and the company would not hurt her. Believing him, Colleen signed the papers. After that, Cameron put a chain around her neck and said she was now his slave. He told her what she had to do next. Cameron, whom Colleen now had to call Master, made strict rules for her. Janice, who Colleen called Mild, seemed kind but too afraid to help her. Whenever Cameron said attention, Colleen had to stand up and raise her hands. After some time, Cameron decided to move them all to a house in a remote area. Over a year passed, and Janice gave birth to a baby girl. During this time, Colleen was kept locked in a box under Cameron and Janice's bed. One day, Cameron took her out of the box and showed her his baby daughter. Colleen was happy to see the baby because she hadn't seen a child in a long time. It brought a rare smile to her face. 2 years went by, and the baby had grown older. One day, Colleen was serving food when a knife accidentally fell. Cameron shouted, "Attention," and Colleen immediately stood up with her hands raised. Cameron beat her again as punishment. Janice couldn't stand to see Colleen being hurt anymore and told Cameron to stop, but she was too scared to do anything else. The next day, Cameron tried to scare Colleen even more with another story. He told her about a girl who tried to escape and went to a police officer for help, only to find out the officer worked for their fake company. The girl was caught and her hands, feet, and tongue were cut off. This terrifying story made Colleen even more afraid. Cameron wanted to take Colleen outside without fear that she would ask for help, so he made sure she was too scared to talk to anyone. He took Colleen out in his car and brought her to his old home where he worked with wood. He introduced her to two men, telling her they were company workers and that she shouldn't call him master in front of them. Colleen agreed and felt a bit better being outside. She then asked Cameron if she would ever be allowed to go home. Cameron replied that the company didn't trust any slaves, making her feel hopeless once more. Cameron told Colleen, "I will help you," and she felt hopeful for the first time in a long while. She started helping him, but suddenly Cameron got hurt and fell to the ground. This was Colleen's chance to run away, but she was too scared because of everything Cameron had told her. She stayed and helped bandage his wound instead. When they got back home, Janice saw Colleen helping Cameron and became angry. They argued, showing how bad Cameron really was. Time passed, and 4 years later, Colleen noticed that Janice's daughter had grown up. Colleen was shocked and asked Janice how long she had been trapped there. Colleen didn't know how many years had gone by. One day, while Cameron and Janice were not home, Colleen had a terrible nightmare. She prayed to God, asking why she was being punished when she hadn't done anything wrong. Panicking, she struggled in the box, and it broke open. When Cameron and Janice returned, Cameron noticed the broken box and thought Colleen had escaped. But after searching, he found her in the restroom terrified. To calm her, he gave her a holy book and took her to play with his daughter to make her feel better. Over time, Colleen did all the household chores without complaint. When she was done, she would go back inside the box. She learned to live this way, accepting that she might never go home. 7 long years passed, and one day, Cameron told her that the company had allowed her to meet her family. However, he said she needed to prove she could be trusted. He handed her a gun and told her to shoot herself. Colleen, afraid but obedient, pulled the trigger, but the gun was empty. Seeing this, Cameron believed Colleen would never try to escape. Cameron then took Colleen to see her family, pretending to be her boyfriend to avoid suspicion. When Colleen met her family after so many years, she felt overwhelmed and emotional. She pretended to be happy and didn't tell them what had really happened to her. Her family was surprised and told her it had been 7 years since she disappeared. Colleen was shocked, realizing she had lost track of time. They had dinner together and enjoyed being reunited. Colleen's sister showed her wedding pictures and asked when they would meet again. Colleen said she didn't know. Her sister noticed something was wrong and told Colleen she could share any problems with her and that she was ready to help. Colleen was about to tell her sister everything when Cameron suddenly showed up and took her away, making excuses to the family. Back at their house, Janice felt worried about what Cameron might do. She took her daughter and left, unable to bear her husband's actions anymore. Cameron was upset by this, and Colleen tried to comfort him, saying she could help him. But this only made Cameron angry. He shouted that she wasn't his wife and locked her in a room. Colleen cried alone, feeling hopeless. Meanwhile, Janice went to church, realizing how wrong she had been for staying silent all those years. She cried and asked God for forgiveness. With newfound courage, she returned to the house and freed Colleen. Janice told Colleen about how Cameron had kidnapped a girl many years ago. When that girl screamed for help, Cameron hurt her and buried her body. That was the body seen at the start of the story. Janice admitted she helped him hide it, but now regretted everything and didn't want the same to happen to Colleen. Janice took Colleen to the bus station, putting her in the car and saying, "You need to go home now." Colleen, still afraid, asked what would happen if the company found her. Janice revealed the truth. There was no company. It was all a lie Cameron had made up to scare her. Janice explained to Colleen that Cameron had made up all those scary stories just to keep her afraid and under his control. Finally understanding the truth, Colleen got on the bus and returned to her family. When she arrived, she broke down in tears as she hugged them, overwhelmed with relief and happiness. Meanwhile, Cameron was shown sitting alone crying as his world fell apart. This marked the end of Colleen's long, painful captivity. This story is based on true events where a couple, Janice and Cameron, kept a girl in prison for 7 years. Thank you for watching this recap. For more amazing and thought-provoking movie summaries, make sure to subscribe to Scene 1408. Don't forget to like this video and tell us in the comments which movie you'd like us to cover next.